If we are able to get a court in the United States to accept the fact that the rest of the world has accepted that Article 49 is being blatantly violated and the state of Minnesota is materially supporting that oppression, then we will have launched something that will take off in the rest of the country. Thank you.
I'm a plaintiff because I'm a Jew, and therefore I'm a privileged person in Israel. But my husband is a Palestinian who was expelled from his home in 1948 when he was 3 years old. In violation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and UN Resolution 194, Israel never allowed him and the other Palestinian refugees to return to their home. Israel's discriminatory laws granting special rights and privileges to Jews at the expense of Palestinians are immoral, unethical, illegal, and extremely offensive. They should offend all of us as Americans and as human beings. In a time when Palestinian nonviolent demonstrators are shot in the face at close range with tear gas canisters and killed, in a time when villages are totally surrounded by the apartheid wall, in a time when a serious candidate for the presidency of the U.S. and a historian at that says that Palestinians are an invented people, in a time when people are actively working against Palestinian freedom and self-determination, it's more important than ever to work on the side of human rights, justice, and compliance with international law. Divest for justice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Greetings to you from the village of Belin, Palestine. Belin is a small village. The village of Belin has become an example worldwide of Palestine's fight against the separation wall and the illegal settlements that are stealing more than half of the village's land. With the help of Israeli and international supporters, the village has resisted this land theft and displacement. The residents of Belin have used nonviolent methods. Our village will never forget the supporters from across the world. In Belin, thousands of people have met from different backgrounds and religions to say in one voice that people can live together in peace. But the Israeli occupation prevents this from becoming a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, we have signed on to the lawsuit as a co-plaintiff because we believe Minnesota Break the Bonds is one piece of the global movement for human rights and justice in the world.
We have come to ask the State Board of Investment to honestly and objectively cover the true nature of the State of Israel and the dire consequences of their decision if they refuse to examine stripped of all disguise the ideology of Zionist Talmudist Israel, and in particular the apartheid character of the regime, confirm its determination to destroy the Palestinian people and to ethnically cleanse the lands. We are called to meet the challenge of this ideology, which, if it were to prevail, would be fatal to every civilized order in the world. We appeal to the State Board of Investment to take the bold step to divest Minnesota taxpayer money from this so-called only democracy in the Middle East.
My husband Nick and I have been in the Holy Land 14 times on visits to our adopted son, Mordecai Vanunu. Mordecai blew the whistle on Israel's secret nuclear weapons program in 1986. Israel was denying that they were producing weapons, and he was working in the Dimona plant that was producing them. So they used Israel. Where in Jerusalem the court sentenced him to 18 years in solitary confinement. Now that isolation meant a 6 by 9 foot cell. Put your head around that. Imagine 6 feet and 9 feet. 7 years later, he is still a prisoner of Israel. So while we were always in overwhelming sadness whenever we visited him, it was even more overwhelming to see the sadness around us as we watched year after year as the Palestinians were robbed more and more of their human rights, until now they have almost no dignity and can barely exist.
The lawsuits which break the bonds is bringing against the State Board of Investment, demanding it divest its $18 million worth of dirty Israel bonds, is very strong, both morally and legally. I am a co-plaintiff because until 7 years ago, when I retired, I worked as a nurse at Regents Hospital. Since then, I have been receiving every month a pension check from PARA, the Public Employees Retirement Association. To my horror, I learned several years ago that the Israel bonds are a part of my pension fund. I have come to know that these bonds were bought with no restrictions for their use, but go into Israel's general treasury and help fund Israel's brutal oppression of the Palestinian people. And you know the litany: the wall, the confiscation of Palestinian lands and homes, the illegal Israel colonies on the West Bank, the Jewish-only roads, the checkpoints, the imprisonment of 6,000 Palestinians, the war in Gaza, the ongoing siege of Gaza, and on and on. In doing so, Israel is in breach of the Fourth Geneva Convention, innumerable UN resolutions condemning their actions, and denounced as well by Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and B'Tselem and Israeli Human Rights Watch.
10 minutes to have somebody or some group summarize your views. I think that they've been well established in the March meeting and through correspondence. And I just want to say also, I really take umbrage with an article that appeared, or editorial in the Minpost last week or the week before about, we made allegations about the board's conduct of investing in just asserting illegal actions, that the Attorney General, and that's a very definitive opinion, obviously a court can go beyond that, but the Attorney General wrote a letter to Mr. Phil Benson on March 31st of this year and stated, I can advise you Minnesota law provides that in addition to the investments authorized in subdivisions 1 to 5, the state board may invest funds in number 5, international securities. And that to me is about as clear permission, whether it's advisable, whether it's for all the other grounds, financial, fiduciary, moral, policy, whatever else you want to say, but to accuse us in contradiction, direct contradiction of what the Attorney General's opinion or letter has stated, that we are acting illegally, I take real offense at. And so, if you filed a lawsuit, so if you want to take us to court, say we're acting illegally, then go ahead. You're entitled to do so. But I don't, on that basis, I'm not inclined to spend a lot more time, listening to something that you're, when you're falsely accusing us of something we're not doing, in my judgment. So I would propose 10 minutes. Then present their whatever they want to present, and any questions or discussions ensuing from that. Okay.
Look at your responsibility of the moral issue of what's right. And that's what needs to weigh in your conscience when you make these decisions. Look at the morality of it.
For the record, could you state your name, please?
Dixie Bella.
Well, what my moral compass tells me is that I took an oath of office last January to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the state of Minnesota. So if I want to change the laws, that's another process. And as the auditor said, if you go to the legislature and enlist the allies and change the law, that allows us to change our decisions here. But to me, acting outside the law is not an option.
Well, I'm just
meeting, but today is not that day because of the fact that we filed the lawsuit and we're waiting for their response. So they have 20 days up until December 19th to get us that response.